Having a laggy playback or a timeline that is not responsive at all is one of the worst experiences that you can have as an editor. The bigger and more complex my projects get, the more power is required on my computer, and therefore it is harder to navigate through my project. This can be super frustrating, but there is a big But the latest release of Premiere Pro introduces hardware decoding for both AMD and NVIDIA GPUs on Windows. And in this video, I'm going to test and see how good this improvement actually is. But before we start, let's talk about what this all means and why it is so important. Hardware decoding means that if you have an AMD graphics card like me or an NVIDIA graphics card, Premiere Pro can now decode or interpret your footage quicker, which means that, for example, when you scrub through your footage, you should see a very smooth playback compared to a very laggy, choppy, jumpy playback. And for example, if you want to click through your timeline, it should load the preview frame immediately instead of having to wait like a second or even more depending on your machine. So previously this was all done by the software, but now that it is done by hardware, it should go a lot quicker. Like I just explained, this means that you have a smoother playback. And the last version, 14.4, still struggled with this a little bit. But they promised that 14.5 eliminates this problem entirely. Alright, I'm going to do 3 tests. I'm going to scrub and click through it, I'm going to seek some frames, and I'm going to do reverse playback. So I'm going to compare the last version, which is 14.4, with the new version 14.5, which is in beta right now as I'm recording this, but as this video will be released, it will be the new update of Adobe Premiere Pro. I have reset both versions so that they perform the same as if I just installed the programs. There is no tweaks, there is no optimizations, it is just straight out of the box. This is the timeline that I will be testing the performance with. As you can see, there's a lot of things going on. This is actually one of my tutorials that I did about Adobe Rush. Alright, so on the left we have the last or the older version, and on the right we have the new version that was released today. You can also see that in the top corner of both versions, I added a larger timestamp so that you can more easily see the responsiveness of both. So for the first test, we will scrub through both timelines, and usually I do this when I want to find a specific part or when I just want to quickly see what it looks like. 14.5, the one on the right, actually seems to be doing pretty well. It is quite responsive, it is quick, and that just makes it a lot easier to scrub through faster. As you can tell, I'm scrubbing through 14.5 faster than 14.4 because in 14.4 I can't really see any previews, while in 14.5 it just loads it almost immediately. The second test is a simple and quick clicking test because we all have these moments where we have to click to find something, for example, if we have a bunch of editing nodes. So having a responsive timeline is very important. When I have a bunch of editing nodes to get through, the last thing that I want to do is wait for the program monitor to load the right preview. So right is loading the previews quite fast in my opinion. It is still taking a fraction of a second to load them, but it is definitely faster than before. Seeking frames means that we're looking for a particular frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in some random numbers in the timecode and then see how long it takes for both versions to skip to and to load the frame. As you can see, both are entered at the same time so that we can clearly tell which version is faster. Alright, so in the first few tries, I can see that the new version, the one on the right, is loading the frames a lot faster. And it seems like when it is a more layered clip, so when there is multiple video streams or clips on top of each other, 14.5 is still loading them as quickly, whereas 14.4 takes a little bit longer to load those frames. Alright, it is time for our last test, and for our last test we are going to rewind our project. First we're going to start at regular speed. This is actually not only a great way to test how well hardware decoding works, but it's also a useful tool when you want to play through your project backwards to find something, or for example if you want to cut something more precisely instead of having to click and then play forward and then click again and play forward. You get it. So both versions started off right, but 14.4 on the left quickly started to struggle, while 14.5 on the right is actually still going strong. And make sure to pay attention to the timecode and the playhead and the program monitor of 14.4 on the left, because that is how you can tell how much it's struggling to play it backwards. And even at 3 times this speed, the one on the right struggles a little bit every now and then, but honestly, I can forgive that because overall, it is a massive improvement. So well done, Adobe. Well done. Honestly, I recommend you to try it out now that this last version is released because it is quite impressive, but it just shows how well hardware decoding actually works, and having such a responsive timeline is going to help me so much as an editor because I don't have to wait anymore, the playback will be smoother, the experience will be better, I won't lose my mind, I won't be scared of big projects anymore, I can just edit and keep editing and actually edit faster. So yeah, all of that is going to make a huge difference in my work on a daily basis and hopefully also in your work. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on new uploads. My name is Lila and I'll see you in the next one.